Well, this should be interesting. Keefe D, Tupac Shakur murder trial. Starting off opening statements. I checked it out really quickly as I was putting this together for you. What I did, guys, the audio on the source recording here is very courtroom airy. I ran it through my audio system and basically compressed the vocal and cut some of the air out so we should be able to hear it a lot better. So that'll be cool for us to watch it together. Also, shout out to Vlad. Don't copyright me. I didn't crop you out here, so hopefully you guys are cool with that. But from what I did see in this, they aren't charging him for actually pulling the trigger. But let's see how this plays out. So let's watch this thing together and see what's going down with this Tupac murder trial.
Sure. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Hopefully you were able to get everything situated over the long
like
weekend.
the public defender.
And we look forward to proceeding with trial.
Seems
Before
like
we get
he's
started, we do need to
prepared
have
for
you
on
sworn.
camera.
So if I could have you all stand and raise your right hand, we'll proceed with that.
You and each of you do solemnly swear that you will well and truly try the case at issue and a true verdict render according to the evidence, so help you God? Thank you. You may be seated.
All right. Thank you, Jessica, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, we're going to turn to opening statements. Mr. Plall, are you ready to give your opening statement at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning. On September 7th, 1996, Tupac Shakur came to Las Vegas to attend a Mike Tyson fight. After the fight, Tupac, along with Suge Knight, Trayvon Lane, and other people that were with that group, ran into a person named Orlando Anderson. And Orlando Anderson is the defendant's nephew. And when they encountered Orlando Anderson sitting by himself,
They whooped his
they
ass.
attacked him. That attack was captured on video.
Hey, who's the dude in the white? That shit
Then,
is
a
crazy.
few hours later, Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight drive down Flamingo Road to Club 662, where Tupac is scheduled to perform a concert. Then 2.5 hours later, after Tupac and Suge engaged in the beating of Orlando Anderson, they are gunned down. Tupac is gunned down in a drive-by shooting from a white Cadillac in an act of revenge.
Damn.
During those 2.5 hours, you will learn that the defendant was escalating and planning the retribution for the beating of his beloved nephew.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's be clear. Dwayne Davis did not pull the trigger.
Did not pull the
But what
trigger.
he did do was plan the retaliation.
So listen to what he's about to say right here. Can they get him for something for not pulling the trigger, but for planning the retaliation? What's the charge? Let's see. Let's see what the charge is going to be.
For the beating of his nephew. You will learn that Dwayne Davis got the gun. You will learn that he got into a white Cadillac. You will learn when the opportunity presented itself for retribution, Dwayne Davis made sure that the shooters were armed and ready to execute their revenge.
There you
And
go.
remarkably, you will learn that from Dwayne Davis himself. But
Couldn't
to
keep his
understand what
mouth shut.
happened on September 7th, 1996 on the streets of Las Vegas, we need to go about 275 miles west to the city of Compton.
City
California.
of Compton.
What you'll learn is that Compton is about 10 square miles. But in the mid-1990s, those 10 square miles were occupied by over 30 gangs claiming its
Damn.
territory. And important to this case,
That's too
there are
much.
2 gangs, Mob Piru and the Southside Compton.
Look at that map. Look how they got it broken
Let's
down.
talk a little bit about the Mob Piru. The Mob Piru is a group that associated with the color red. And you'll hear that Suge Knight, the person who was driving Tupac Shakur that night, grew up in the neighborhood of Mob Piru. But by the mid-1990s, he had become a very successful CEO of the record label Death Row Records. But despite, or maybe because of where he came from, you'll hear that Suge Knight continued to employ Mob Piru gang members as part of Death Row.
Nice.
They would act as unofficial security, and other times they would engage in, it's called
gangsta shit
on behalf of Suge Knight. But Death Row in the mid-1990s was one of the most successful record labels around. They had artists such as Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and of course, Tupac Shakur. And in 1996, Tupac Shakur was maybe the largest and biggest, most successful rapper around. He had just released All Eyes on Me, a double album that was met with huge success. Additionally, Tupac Shakur was a movie star, having appeared in a number of movies in critically acclaimed roles. He has at times been referred to as an icon. But for the purposes of this case, what you need to know is that Tupac Shakur was not a gangster. He was a hip-hop artist associated with the Mob Piru. Now, the other gang that's important to note here is the Southside Compton Crips. And
SFCC.
when it comes to Southside,
Look at that picture.
Dwayne Keefe D. Davis was the leader of the Burris Street faction of the Southside Compton Crips.
The leader.
And while
That's a
Suge Knight
handsome
rose to
man.
prominence in his neighborhood due to the money that he was bringing in through the music industry, Dwayne Davis rose to prominence in his neighborhood because he was a very successful, large-scale drug
dealer.
trafficker. And you will learn that that is how one moves up in the world of gangs, by bringing in money to the neighborhood.
Right.
The other thing you'll learn is that Orlando Baby Wayne Anderson was his nephew and also a highly respected member of the Southside Compton Crips. Now,
Highly respected.
as part of this case, you're going to hear another name. Eric Zip Martin. Now, Eric Zip Martin is not a member of the Southside Compton Crips. In fact, he's based out of New York. He's involved in the drug trade and knows Dwayne Davis as a result of both their involvements in the drug trade. Dwayne Davis from the West Coast, Eric Zip Martin from the East Coast. And one of the connections that Dwayne Davis gets through his association with Zip Martin is with Sean Puffy Combs, who was then the CEO of Bad Boy Entertainment. Sean Combs wanted some security when he came out to the West Coast. He was worried about Mob Piru. He was worried about the members of Death Row Records. And so Dwayne Keefe D. Davis agreed to be around to act as unofficial security for Sean Combs and his artists when they came out west.
That's crazy.
In order specifically to ensure there are no problems with Mob Piru and Death Row Records. And this took a rivalry between Mob Piru and Southside.
Hey, don't you think that would create more problems if you were coming to gang territory and you hired a rival gang to be your security?
The Crips and escalated it. And those tensions boiled over in the Lakewood Mall in the summer of 1996. There, you'll hear that Trayvon Lane, a member of the Mob Piru, associated with Death Row Records, was there with other members of Mob Piru in order to do some shopping. Lakewood Mall was a mall nearby Compton. You'll also hear that Baby Lane Anderson, Orlando Anderson, the defendant's nephew, was there. Now, Trayvon Lane that day was wearing a chain with a Death Row medallion. And there was a fight that occurs between the Mob Piru group and the Southside Compton Crips. And at one point, that chain is pulled off Trayvon Lane's neck. Now, What happened to that chain is an issue of much dispute. Not everybody agrees with it. But the act of disrespect of pulling the death row chain and the brawl that occurs further escalates this heated rivalry. And what you'll learn is that these two men, Trayvon Lane and Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, they encounter each other again. This time in Las Vegas. So that brings us back up to September 7th, 1996.
Keep showing that picture of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson got nothing
Mike
to do with
Tyson
this.
is fighting Bruce Seldon. He disposes of him in less than in a round. Doesn't take a full round. And then after the fight, Tupac Shakur, Suge Knight, and the people that are here with,
There
they
he
leave.
is.
And among his group is Trayvon Lane.
He was drunk too. Pac was drunk right
And
there.
that is why this fight occurs. Trayvon Lane and the death row group sees Orlando Anderson standing by himself, and they decide to attack him in retribution for what happened at the Lakewood Mall. You'll see Orlando Anderson's on the bottom of that group. You see
That
security
dude in the
coming,
white
trying
always
to break
cracks
this
me
up.
up.
And then you'll see Tupac Shakur, Suge Knight, Trayvon Lane, and that group exit the MGM Grand. Now, Orlando Anderson was by himself because when Dwayne Davis purchased the tickets...
So
for the
Trayvon Lane
fight,
was there?
He got him through a scalper. So everybody that came with Dwayne Davis were seated separately throughout the fight. And so Orlando Anderson was, at that time, by himself. You'll see that Mr. Shakur, Mr. Knight, and his group leave the MGM Grand.
That shit, man. Drunk, dude.
And you'll see that Orlando Anderson, after being held by security, is questioned for a bit.
Don't get drunk and fight gangbangers, guys. That's the moral of the story if you want to stay alive out here in these streets.
Asked if he wants to press charges. He decides he doesn't want to participate in any type of
Hell
prosecution.
no. I'm going to go
and
find him
that
and
he
smoke
doesn't
him on
need
Las
medical
Vegas
attention.
Boulevard on Flamingo.
Dwayne Davis hears about this beating. And what you will hear is that in his world, there is no question that a response is required. And you will hear from Dwayne Davis what happens next.
Okay, I
Because-
cleaned up this audio, guys.
What happened over the next 2.5 hours is something Dwayne Davis would later describe
But you gotta listen
himself.
very closely.
The secret 2008 interview from his attorney's office with the federal task force. And we'll talk about that interview and the circumstances surrounding that later. But we'll hear about what the next 2.5 hours was. So, what we learn is that Dwayne Davis is upset about the beating of his nephew. And frankly, that's not an unusual response. What's unusual is the next steps Dwayne Davis takes. Unusual for the normal person, maybe not unusual for in gang culture. Dwayne Davis decides he is going to organize a retaliation, that this beating cannot go unanswered. Then he runs into a person named Zip Martin. Remember the Zip Martin that was a connection with Bad Boy Entertainment from New York? And Zip Martin tells him that he has a gun and that he can come help him out.
Hey, where do you go to? What do you tell Zip right now? You tell Zip, hey, we're going to go handle this shit or whatever?
Yeah, they act like that. Y'all want us to come? I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? They was
I think he's talking to Greg Kading right here.
they going to get 6 stupid.
Who's that?
Everybody.
Everybody up there?
Yeah, everybody. You want to come to
Well,
that?
how do you know that Zip's got a gun? Does he tell
It
you?
was in the lobby, but I met him in the lobby. I got one.
Did you ask him? Do you have one? Or he just tells you, yeah, I got one?
Yeah, that's when they asked me, we need some help. I got some things to do. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool.
I don't know what he gave.
Yeah.
So later, Dwayne Davis organizes 2 vehicles to go over to the 662 Club. Before that, he gets the gun from Zip Martin. He goes out to his Mercedes-Benz, gets the gun from Zip Martin, and then After some time, he assembles 2 cars to go to 662 to violently confront Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight for the beating of his nephew. And you'll hear that Dwayne Davis wasn't initially in the white Cadillac. He goes into a van, and Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, they go in a white Cadillac, and they go to Club 662, waiting for Tupac Shakur, waiting for Suge Knight, waiting for this violent confrontation. And what you'll learn is that Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight don't show up while they're there.
We went up to 626, they didn't show up. We waited about 15, 20 minutes, they didn't show up. So, it's like, let's go get some liquor. We stopped at the liquor store. I got out the van there and jumped in the Cadillac.
So what you hear Dwayne Davis say is he got out of the van and goes into the Cadillac. And the plan at that point is to go to a liquor store, get some booze,
You know you don't
go
fucked
back
up, right?
to the Las Vegas Strip and party. What the original intention was before Orlando Anderson was beaten at the MGM Grand. But on the way back to the Las Vegas Strip, they see a caravan of cars. And that caravan included Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight. And in that white Cadillac, before the shooting occurs,
Terrence T.
Dwayne Davis
Brown.
explains that the driver is Terrence T. Brown. In the rear driver's side is DeAndre Dre, or Big Dre Smith. In the rear passenger side is Orlando Baby Lane Anderson. And Dwayne Davis himself, Keefe D, is in the front passenger side.
Okay.
And this is how Dwayne Davis explains the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Yeah. He's a little bit short.
I think in the Netflix Tupac and Biggie Unsolved thing, I think they had Keefe D sitting in back, but it's probably for the shooting movie shooting purposes, because I think he was talking to Baby Lane. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong on that though.
Right there, we came up Harlem at the Las Vegas Boulevard. And shit, here they come in that BMW and here you car. And bros, Tupac. We like, there you go. Made the U-turn. We wasn't supposed to make it. Just wanted the U-turn. They was in the middle lane. And we just pulled up on the side, checked every car to see where they was.
So what directed your attention to him was some girl shouting at Tupac?
Tupac, he gave us up away. Otherwise, they would gone away.
If not for some females, Tupac and the females always fucking him up.
You did a U-turn, so then you pull alongside of it. You guys were in the
See,
car.
he happy about it. He happy he did it.
At what point do you hand him the gun?
He's proud of
I
it.
thought he was going to pull on my side. You know, that's one of them that going to the out for him, you know. And he pulled on his side.
So you were fitting the blast if you had to, or you were just...
Yeah, we would have been on my side, I would have.
Okay. So you hand the gun to the back seat.
Yeah.
You can hear Lane.
I gave it to Dre. Dre was like, no. And Lane's like, dude, fuck, dude.
So what you hear Dwayne Davis admit that as they see Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight driving to Club 662,
Let's go blast that fool.
Dwayne Davis, along with Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith, and Orlando Anderson, decide to make a U-turn, confront Tupac Shakur and Suge
And then
Knight.
blast him.
Dwayne Davis has the firearm. It's a firearm he got from Eric Von Zit Martin, and then he passes it to the back. Dwayne Davis says that if they were on his side, if Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight were on his side of the vehicle, he would have shot them himself. But because they were on the other side, he handed it to DeAndre Smith. DeAndre Smith, according to Dwayne Davis, did not want to shoot at that time, so Orlando Anderson shot into that car.
So Orlando reached across.
Dwayne Davis explains this over and over again.
Literally, on the street.
Okay, Lane starts blasting. You say Suge looks over, he sees you. He looks right at you.
Literally.
Are you nervous?
I just know he just behavior look?
When he looks over at you, and then, Tupac's busy getting shot, evidently the story is Tupac's trying to either get out
In the
of
back seat or something.
Yeah, what do you see happening inside that
Jump
car?
in. I see the bullet going through. Yeah, I thought he was dead. He was dead. He must have scraped him or something in the head or something.
A piece of glass went into his neck right here.
And he had a thing in the head.
A little great.
I thought he was dead.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, did you guys stop the two girls? Did Bobo stop the car and let him get off?
Yeah. And we made the right.
Okay, but he stopped what you said, why you cool, let off,
Yeah. And we made the right and so for all the seed were even homeless. Stupid bitches. We shot their window around and they stopped.
So Tupac's trying to jump in the back seat. And what should we do? Just duck him?
Drug him. He couldn't really duck him. He was too big. Yeah.
One other thing Dwayne Davis talks about during the murder of Tupac Shakur is that there's a car full of women. I think he calls them broads at one point. Car full of women who are there as well. And you're going to hear from one of them.
The broad.
And what she's going to tell you is that she disagrees slightly with Mr. Davis's rendition of facts. They were, in fact, communicating with Suge at Tupac's car, but they weren't talking to Tupac, they were talking to Suge. And what she says is she hears gunshots, she sees the white Cadillac flee, and then what Dwayne Davis interprets as them chasing her, she'll tell you is them just panicking and trying to get away. But she will say they inadvertently follow Dwayne Davis and the other people in the white car as they are fleeing. After Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur's vehicle is shot, Suge Knight makes a U-turn and heads back to the Las Vegas Strip. The car ultimately can go no further and stops. Police arrive. Medical arrives. You will hear that Suge Knight was grazed in the head and had some glass going in his neck. He ultimately survives those injuries and is released fairly quickly. You'll also hear that Tupac Shakur was shot multiple times, that he was brought to UMC, and that 6 days later, he succumbed to those injuries.
Really?
And within
That,
24
or did
hours,
his mother.
the Cadillac and the assailants are back in Compton. They stay the night, and they drive right home as though nothing happened. But
Damn. Drove
a
home as if
war
nothing happened.
followed them back to Compton. Because while people were afraid to come forward to police, the police knew and the streets knew that Southside Compton Crips were responsible for this murder. And the war that follows at Compton is a bloody one. You'll hear that Mob Piru and Southside Crip members start shooting at each other. Within 10 days, 3 people are killed. A number of people are shot, including an 11-year-old girl. And what you'll also learn is that none of those cases were prosecuted. Why? Because in this context, in the gang context of this, the combination of gangs and guns is scary. And in this world, silence means survival. Now, the one person who has a hard time being silent is Dwayne Davis.
Wow. Stool pigeon.
You're going to hear from 1998 to 2023, Dwayne Davis has given a number of statements regarding this case. So, as early as 1998, Davis spoke to the FBI.
25 years?
He admitted he was in Las Vegas during Tupac's murder, but he denies being responsible. Then in 1999, Davis speaks to the FBI again. And these aren't interviews that are focused on the Tupac Shakur murder. These aren't interviews regarding drug transactions and drug trafficking. But he does say that Tupac does come up, and Dwayne Davis admits to being in Las Vegas for Tupac Shakur's murder. says he wasn't involved, but he was mad about the fact that Orlando Anderson was beaten and that his plan was to handle it in Compton had Tupac survived. Then in 2008, the interview of clips we've heard today, in a secret interview with the federal task force, Davis admits to his role in the murder of Tupac Shakur. And we do need to talk a little bit about this 2008 federal task force. Because what this task force is investigating is not the murder of Tupac Shakur. What this task force is investigating is another rapper's murder. A rapper by the name of Christopher Wallace.
Oh, damn.
Somebody who was known as Biggie Smalls, so the notorious B.I.G.
Right.
Christopher Wallace got murdered 6 months after Tupac Shakur was killed. And there was some allegation that the LAPD might have been involved. So a federal task force was formed to determine what happened to Christopher Wallace. And the interesting thing about the murder of Christopher Wallace is that Christopher Wallace is killed leaving a party in LA. Also at that party, Dwayne Davis.
Damn.
Christopher Wallace there was a suspect vehicle that
Not
was a
looking
Chevy
good,
SS Impala, and Dwayne Davis happened to own a Chevy SS Impala. Now, as a result of that, the task force decides, well, let's look at Dwayne Davis. And the thing we know about Dwayne Davis is that he trafficked narcotics. And so they were able, through a CI and an undercover, to have a drug transaction with Dwayne Davis. And as a result, Dwayne Davis now has a case, a big trafficking case. And so the federal task force approaches Dwayne Davis and his attorney, and they say, hey, look, we want information regarding the murder of Christopher Wallace. That is what we are trying to investigate. And what Dwayne Davis says is, I don't have any information about that thing, but I can tell you about what we did. I can tell you about Tupac. And that's what he does. He tells a federal task force that that's about his involvement, what you've heard, his orchestration of the murder of Tupac.
Big dummy.
That secret conversation, that proffer, was secretly recorded and released later. In 2009, Davis is being so helpful to federal authorities that he actually flies out to New York to try and get Zip Martin to implicate himself in the Tupac Shakur murder.
Oh, damn.
Zip Martin at that time was
Too
dying
smart.
of cancer, was out of the game, and really did not engage with Dwayne Davis. In 2009, though, Dwayne Davis gives an interview to Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Detective Dan Long. Now, Dwayne Davis is more guarded in that interview. It is a different setting than the interview in 2008. It's not a secret proffer agreement. But Dwayne Davis does admit a number of things. That he was in Las Vegas, that he was mad about Orlando Anderson getting beaten, that he was the boss, that he was in the white Cadillac, that he procured the firearm that ultimately killed Tupac Shakur. Then, in 2011, the landscape changes.
Here we
Because
go.
in 2011, Greg Kading, the guy who was leading the task force in 2008, the guy who organized the secret proffer between Dwayne Davis and the federal task force, he
Nothing
leaves law enforcement and decides he's going to publish a book about his investigation into Biggie Smalls, the guy who was killed 6 months after Tupac,
Can he do that?
and Tupac Shakur. And what he puts in the book is that Dwayne Davis confessed to the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Can
The
he
book
do
tells
that?
the story about Davis' admission, about himself, but it also tells the story of Dwayne Davis telling about his nephew's involvement in the murder, about Big Dre's involvement in the murder, about Terrence Brown's involvement in the murder.
Hey, this is really something about human nature. We know what he did and what his involvement was. Like it's laid out, right? But he's still gonna sit there and claim innocence with all these people around, with the trial, cameras, internet, television. What does that say? That a human being can just lie so much and still expect to somehow get off when it's clear, like he admitted it, like it's not even a question. I mean, that's a dangerous thing about human beings, how far they can lie, how much they can lie. It can really hurt you if you're around these folks, around this type of person.
And this is a problem for Dwayne Davis, because that meeting was supposed to be secret. And now his cooperation with federal authorities is open to the world. Not only that, Greg Kading is now profiting off Dwayne Davis's life story.
Nice. So what does that mean?
So, in 2017, Dwayne Davis decides to go public.
Oh, he said
He's
he wants his
approached
money.
by the producers of a show called Death Row Chronicles that appears on BET. And this is just a small portion of what he says is his motivation.
Thought he
for
could get the
appearing.
bag.
Anyway, in Keefe D days, I was opted King created drug dealer. I'm the only one alive that really can tell you the story about the Tupac shooting.
Wow.
People have been pursuing me for 20 years. Newspapers, magazines. I'm coming out now to tell the story because I got cancer. I got nothing else to lose. All I care about now is the truth.
Okay.
Dwayne Davis says, all I want to do now is tell the truth.
Did he say because he got
in the
cancer?
2017 public interview, he's a little evasive, but he admits to being the boss. He admits to being in the white Cadillac. And he admits to be part of the murder of Tupac Shakur. And when he says he's the only person that can tell what happened, he's right. Because by 2017, Terrence Brown is deceased. DeAndre Smith is deceased. Orlando Baby Lane Anderson is deceased.
That is crazy.
Terrence Brown was murdered in an unrelated incident. Orlando
Yeah,
Anderson
he did,
was
guys.
murdered
In
in an
2017,
unrelated incident.
Keefe D had colon
and DeAndre
cancer.
Smith died from health issues.
He was diagnosed in 2014.
Remarkably, in 2019, Dwayne Davis then decides he's going to publish his own book. And with regards to
But
the
he beat
book,
the cancer,
it is
obviously.
certainly a lot of self-aggrandizement. But again, the core remains. He was mad about Orlando Anderson about the beating of Orlando Anderson, his nephew. He was in Las Vegas. He got the gun. He was in the white Cadillac, and he handed the gun to the shooters. And what you'll notice is a constant thing that always goes through these statements is Dwayne Davis's visceral anger at Tupac Shakur for putting hands on his nephew.
So what's the charge going to be? The charge is going to be a conspiracy charge? A conspiracy to commit murder?
In the book, he says, them jumping on my nephew gave us the ultimate green light to do something to their house.
Yes. Compton street legend.
Then, Dwayne Davis decides that he's going to do public interviews regarding his role in the murder of Tupac Shakur.
So you ended up getting in the car with Baby Lane and them?
Yeah, the car was on me, yeah. We ran into them, went up to the light on Sunset and Flamingo, and dude, we acted like he was in a parade or something. That nigga in that BMW hanging out with him, hey, this Tupac, he's Tupac. And them bitches, shit, they was hollering for him. I mean, they heard that motherfucker. They came up on the side of him.
Dude is evil.
Oh, shit.
Davis's public admissions mirror his private life. He admits to being a leader of Southside Crips. He admits to the significance of the fight over the death row chain at the Lakewood Mall. He admits to being in Las Vegas the night of the fight. He admits to being angry that Tupac stomped Orlando Anderson at the MGM. He admits that he was hunting down Tupac and Suge, first going to 662. He admits that he got a Glock 40 from Eric Zip Martin for the purposes of hunting Tupac. He admits that he was in a white Cadillac
For the
with his
purposes
gang
of
members
hunting
looking for
Tupac?
He admits to seeing Tupac in a black BMW and then changing directions, making that U-turn to confront Tupac and Suge. He admits to putting the gun he obtained that night in the back seat of the vehicle so the shooters could shoot.
Got him.
And And again, what remains, even as late as 2020, 2021, 22, is Dwayne Davis's visceral anger at Tupac.
Visceral anger. He keeps hammering that home.
Tupac was wrong with two motherfucking shit. I mean, don't you think he's wrong? Honestly.
I mean, yeah, I think he could, reacted in a better way.
You listen, you don't think that man is wrong?
He could have reacted in a better way, I guess.
I'm talking. Glass is fucking biggest fan. He admitted that that man is wrong, man.
I mean, yeah, man, he's
Come on,
wrong,
man.
man. That was only done out of love.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But he never jumped. My nephew didn't jump on it. He jumped on my nephew. Just a kid, man.
He actually not wrong about this.
He was a grown ass man. See? You know what I'm saying? He was a fucking kid. That's why he had on the channel.
How old was Orlando?
You know what I'm saying? He was wrong. My nephew.
How old was Orlando Anderson when he shot Tupac Shakur?
My nephew didn't throw a punch, man. She was wrong, dude. Jumped on the fucking kid.
I don't know. Is a kid 22?
And this anger is not just demonstrated publicly.
Baby Lane was 22 years
but
old.
you will hear as recently as 2024.
I think Pac was 24 or 25.
Conversation with his son. He talks about his feelings about Tupac Shakur. Nearly 30 years after the murder.
What I do is I'll way out there for him, dude. So he stopped drinking and put them on. Oh, we is a little crazy. You know what I'm saying? He's fucking prison. He's fucking piece of shit. Yo.
Right there, like I said, very well, but yeah.
Wow.
28 years later, that is the visceral anger that Dwayne Davis had for Tupac Shakur. It did it in 2.5 hours. He took care of what he thought was the proper response. And 28 years later, he still is angry about what Tupac did.
Mm-hmm.
On September 7th, 1996, Tupac Shakur publicly, on camera, participated in a humiliating beating of Dwayne Davis's nephew, Orlando Anderson. Dwayne Davis
Mistake.
knew that in his world, that required a response. And over the years, in private interviews, and public statements, and even in private calls, Dwayne Davis has repeatedly told us over and over again about the anger he felt and his own role in the revenge drive-by shooting of Tupac Shakur.
Mm-hmm.
And now, nearly 30 years later, we're going to ask you to finally hold Dwayne Davis accountable. Thank you.
So Keefe D is about to be held accountable. Now, look, guys, we already know the answer to the Tupac Baby Lane thing. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Don't get drunk and go beat up gangbangers. It's not going to end well for you. Now, what did we get from this? They said that he's not the shooter, but it looks like they're going to get him on some type of a conspiracy charge. And the dude's 60-something years old. Let's check the age real quick. How old is Keefe D right now? He's 63 years old right now. I mean, dude's going to die in prison. I wonder how long this is going to go on for. It is interesting nonetheless. I knew all of these facts because I've followed this for quite some time. I remember when the Netflix series came out, and I thought, oh, they're going to get Puffy from this because in the Netflix series, they talk about Puffy paying Keefe D and the guy Zip they were talking about earlier. But anyway, guys, interesting stuff. Let me know what you think is going to happen down below. Do you think he's going to get off? You think there's a way for him to release liability from this?